Microsoft is heading for another all-time high break and retest. Today, we analyze Microsoft. However, by actually looking at a higher time frame, we are perfectly able to determine where Microsoft will head next in the near future. Therefore, looking at the monthly chart of Microsoft, before we actually start with our technical analysis, we first have to determine the underlying trend. On Microsoft, it's pretty simple. You can see that actually back in 2013, Microsoft managed to create a breakout above a significant horizontal resistance, which back then was at the psychological $40 level, after for over a decade actually creating a so-called rounding bottom formation. With the breakout of this rounding bottom formation, Microsoft then entered into a significant bull run, and over the past decade, we saw an incredible rally of 1,111%. As we're speaking, Microsoft is once again just respecting structure. If we now start with technical analysis, you can see that exactly 5 years ago, we saw the first creation of a so-called rising channel on Microsoft. Back in 2020, we saw the first retest of a significant lower support trend line, and ever since Microsoft established this trend line, each retest was followed by a substantial move higher. We saw the last retest just a couple of months ago in confluence with this bullish all-time high break and retest. That was also the reason for why I decided to publish a bunch of analysis explaining all the reasons for which I do expect a bullish move away from this confluence of support. And over the past couple of months, Microsoft rallied 60%. Since I mentioned we're talking about a rising channel formation, if we duplicate this lower green support trend line and we connect all of the previous highs, we get an upper resistance trend line, therefore obviously always pushing price lower on every retest. You can see that at the moment Microsoft is perfectly retesting this red resistance trend line. Therefore, if we now actually see bearish confirmation on the smaller time frame, I simply do expect a reversal away from this resistance trend line, a rejection away towards the downside, a potential retest of the previous all-time high at this $450 level, which would then ultimately lead to an overall bullish break and retest. Now, don't get me wrong, the overall trend on Microsoft is clearly towards the upside, and I eventually do expect new all-time highs. However, we could see some short-term volatility, a move of approximately minus 20% towards the downside before we will then see the overall bull run continuation. If you enjoyed today's analysis of Microsoft and you found it any helpful, as always, I really appreciate if you smash the thumbs up below this video. The moment Microsoft actually starts to create bearish confirmation and initiates the bearish reversal towards the downside, I will immediately update this analysis, so make sure you stay tuned. I will see you tomorrow with a fresh breakdown. Keep your long-term vision.